On today's show, we're joined by JD Young from Locked On Sharks to learn all about William Eklund.
Plus, we kick off our 6th annual organizational value rankings. Let the countdown begin.
I'm Jake Sanderson.
I'm Tim Stützle, and you're listening to the Locked On Senators podcast.
You're Locked On Senators, your daily podcast on the Ottawa Senators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome. You are locked on to the Ottawa Senators. I'm Ross Levitan alongside Brandon Piller. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Join all the action at FanDuel.com to play daily dingers and make your free pick for who's hitting a homer this MLB season. Today is Monday, August 24th, and Pillsy better late than never. The background work is done. The organizational value rankings begin today. We're counting down all the way from 70 to number 1.
Yeah, this is an exercise we've been doing now for 6 years, and it's something we like to do just to keep tabs on all the guys in the organization. As we'll see from today's tier, the long shots tier, it's guys maybe you don't always think about, you might have forgot about, late draft picks, etc. But where are they? Where do we think their value is? Where are they playing? Where were they drafted? Just simple background information to keep tabs on these guys because, look, 7th round picks, they can turn into NHL players. Look at a guy like Joey Decord. That's a perfect example.
6th round picks, Mark Stone, Daniel Alfredson, they're out there, those late gems. But I kind of made it sound like we're counting down from 70 to number 1 in today's show. So what it's going to be, we'll explain it now, is that over the course of the next 2.5 weeks, the end of each show, we'll continue our countdown. So they're going to be larger groups of players later on. There's not as much depth to get into on them, but we want to let you know where they're playing. And most importantly, what do they need to show this season to move up the list next year? If you're watching on YouTube, and we'll verbalize it because we love the audio listeners as well. Where were they last year? And we keep tabs on how they've moved up and down. It's like a stock, as they are as prospects, because from year to year, they can move and grow so much in different areas. So what they need to improve on to move higher and really get a chance to be an NHL player. So we're looking forward to all that. A guy who's making his debut on the value rankings this year is William Eklund. And we thought it would be great to get JD Young on the show because he and William Eklund go way back. Like, he's been covering the Sharks since William got there in 2021-22. And he's had him on the show multiple times. So I think this is going to be a great bit of insight for Senators fans because he's a mythical creature. Like, we haven't heard from William Eklund. Like, there was that initial, like, really brief media call right after the trade. But, like, I think people want to get to know who he is as a player and person a little bit more. And I think JD's got some great insight on that.
Yeah, and I mean, we talk about the relationship between the Sharks and the Sens. There's more than just William Eklund. So JD tells us about Fabian Zetterlund, Kasper Halttunen. So it's definitely an informing interview to listen to get some information on some of the newer Senators and hopefully a spark that'll help Fabian Zetterlund reach his potential.
Let's jump to that right now. Here's JD Young from Locked On Sharks. All right, we now welcome a very special guest. It's been a long time coming to have JD Young on. He is the host of Locked On Sharks, and really, you look back over the years, Ottawa, San Jose, the parallels between the two franchises, always being competitive, never getting over the hump in the mid to late 2010s. And now here we are, both coming out of a rebuild. And Ottawa, if you think about it, kind of has 4 former Sharks in one way or another in their top 6. So it's a great time to have JD Young on. JD, are you excited to have a show where you don't talk about Macklin Celebrini for more than half of it?
I mean, he is my bread and butter, so I gotta know what what drives the numbers. But yeah, it'll be fun to talk about a lot of weird connections between the Sharks and the Sens for some weird reasons. So it'd be nice to talk about one Eklund, William.
But would you say this would be the 3rd biggest trade between the two teams? I mean, 9th overall pick's a ton of value, but I don't think this is sniffing Erik Karlsson or Danny Heatley level.
Yeah, I mean, and then of course you have the Mike Hoffman flip, that one of my favorite trades of all time, the Mike Hoffman flip as well. But yeah, I mean, the Eklund trade, 9th overall, it has been a lot of big time trades between the Sens and the Sharks here. But yeah, I would say probably 3rd when you look back.
When you're looking at it from Ottawa's perspective, we were waiting on pins and needles because you get all the draft capital back from Brady Tkachuk, and Steve Staios said, look, we're not taking a step back. There was going to be a follow-up trade. But what was the reaction like in San Jose when you learned that the 9th overall pick was coming in exchange for William Eklund and prospects?
It was, I mean, to be honest, it was a little heartbreaking because, like, you think about Eklund, who was kind of the first piece of this rebuild, right? When the Sharks started this rebuild, they get him 7th overall. It was the first player where, like, I was like, this is the guy that you want to pick, right? Kind of that first piece went through some very lean years with the Sharks, right? You think about before Celebrity showed up, where this team was just like one of the worst teams in modern NHL history with a -150 goal differential. Eklund kind of felt like that first piece for San Jose. So it was tough in that part of, like, you're losing this guy who's been there through some of, like, the worst times in franchise history. But from the Sharks' perspective, you kind of realize he was probably their biggest trade piece when it came to trying to acquire a defenseman, whether that was via, the draft, as the Sharks ended up getting Keaton Verhoff with that 9th pick, or if they were going to try to find someone who was a little bit more NHL ready somewhere else. You kind of felt like, especially after the Sharks won the draft lottery, was able to move up to 2, and you kind of thought that they were going to either pick a guy like Chase Reed or get Ivar Stenberg, which of course they did draft Stenberg. It felt like maybe Eklund was kind of the guy that you could try to swing into to help your blue line prospects or help your blue line in some way, shape, or form. But surprise, I think, is a good way to go with it. Like but you also kind of felt like it was coming at the same time. So, but yeah, I mean, Eklund was, very much beloved among the fan base. Like, again, kind of that first guy in the rebuild here.
From my perspective, though, as outsider of San Jose Shark fandom, it kind of surprised me, like we had talked about, that Eklund was the guy that moved, because you look at a team that is on the rise coming out of a rebuild. Like, they were competitive in the Western Conference. And then you've got a guy who's 23 years old, signed to an incredible value deal that just kicks in 3 years at 5.6. And then even after that deal, he's still under team control as an RFA. Like, for you, was that move kind of a big risk to try to acquire a defenseman like you talked about and sacrifice maybe the fact that you already have William Eklund here and you hope that Misa improves, Smith improves, that obviously you get a guy like Stenberg? Like, was that the kind of move where it's like, okay, we're maybe taking one step back here to take 2 steps forward in the future years?
I think that's kind of at least Mike Greer's thinking, right? Is you're hoping that Stenberg, a guy you're drafting 2nd overall, and has done things in SHL that we haven't seen since Pierre Forsberg and the Sedin twins. We're doing that. He can kind of come in and maybe not be Eklund level this year, but over the next couple of years, surpass what William Eklund was doing, right? And that you're hoping that, right? You have guys like Misa, you have a player like Chernyshov, who they drafted in the 2nd round of the 2024 draft, and very much looks like a guy who should have been a mid-first round pick. If he doesn't get sunburned, probably is a first round pick. But you're hoping that these guys can kind of maybe help fill the role a little bit more. Then you go out and you add Kiefer Sherwood last season, you get Mason Marchment this year. So maybe they're hoping that some of these guys can kind of bridge the gap a little bit until your Stenbergs and some of your other players are able to kind of take on that role. And when it comes to the defense, like, it's so hard to acquire these top end defensemen, right? You either have to draft and develop them, as you guys know, with Jake Sanderson, who's turned out to be a pretty good defenseman, or you have to pay premium prices like the Wild did to acquire Quinn Hughes. And it's much easier just to draft and to develop a guy and have a guy for his entire career than try to hope that a defenseman becomes available. And I think that's what they're hoping here, is that Keaton Verhoff, I don't think he's going to be a superstar player, but can Keaton Verhoff be, that really awesome number 2 type of defenseman who plays in all situations type of player. And I think that's the hope, is that it's harder, or at least the thinking is it's harder to find those guys than it is to find a playmaking second line winger. And I think that was the thinking, at least from Mike Greer's perspective.
And we know that Mike Greer and Steve Staios have a good relationship, former teammates with the Edmonton Oilers for one season. They combined on the Fabian Zetterlund trade last year at the trade deadline, and then again this summer with William Eklund. And if people want to learn more about William Eklund from William Eklund, he's a recurring guest on Locked On Sharks. You had him on multiple times so people can get to know the personality. What can you tell us about William, the type of guy and the type of player that he is?
Yeah, he's a really good kid. He's one of those players, he wants to win, right? And you could tell the years in San Jose, right, where you're just that was it, winning. That's what he cared about the most, right? Was just trying to win and trying to turn this thing around in San Jose and being one of those guys. But their personality, very kind of quiet type of personality, but you could tell the fire is definitely there for him of trying to win. And I think he's going to be a really nice fit for you guys here in Ottawa as a player who may not going to get the headlines, but I think after the Brady Tkachuk saga, you probably want a little bit more chill, kind of a little bit more, little less headlines type of player. And I think William Eklund will definitely fill that role of just kind of being a great guy in the locker room. Everybody, well respected, takes care of his business, takes care of himself. You can see just from when I, met him at the age of 18 to now, just the transformation of his body to become an everyday NHL player and stuff like that. He's put in the work. And I think this season you're really going to see a different level of William Eklund.
Today's episode is brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. Baseball fans, if you think you know who's hitting a homer today, FanDuel is giving you a free chance to call your shot with daily dingers. It's easy to play. Just make your free pick for who you think will hit a home run in their game. If you're right, you'll receive a profit boost to use on your next bet for a chance at extra winnings. Best of all, you can make a free pick every day throughout the MLB season. Daily Dingers is another fun way to stay engaged with everyday games. Whether you're following your favorite team or keeping an eye on matchups across the league, every game has someone capable of going deep. Now, you get the chance to make your prediction before first pitch. Let's take a look at some of the options today. Let's go with the late night game, Cubs, Diamondbacks, and if you're looking for who can hit a home run in that game, we'll go with Pete Crow Armstrong at plus 320. That guy's been absolutely crushing it this year. So, are you ready to play your game today? Join all the action at FanDuel.com. That's FanDuel.com to play daily dingers and make your free pick on who's hitting a homer. Play ball and swing for the fences on FanDuel, an official partner of the MLB. And bringing William Eklund in, we hope we can see a different level of Fabian Zetterlund. A lot of the talk has been, okay, Fabian Zetterlund hasn't quite worked out the way we had hoped when we acquired him from the San Jose Sharks. But you bring in a guy that he has amazing chemistry, it seems, on and off the ice. When those two were together in San Jose, were they playing a lot on a line? Were they on the power play? Talk about the chemistry between those guys and how that might improve Fabian Zetterlund's game.
Yeah, they were on a line with Mikael Granlund, and that line, we called it the Lund line, right? William Eklund, Fabian Zetterlund, Mikael Granlund. That line was the Sharks' number one line for, yes, very poor season, but that was the Sharks' number one line, right? And that line was, Granlund was a point per game player that season for San Jose, and Zetterlund was putting up 20 goals a season. And Eklund, the assist numbers were some of his best that season with that line put together, playing as the Sharks' top line. So I think with their chemistry, William Eklund, who's a natural playmaker, Zetterlund, who can that is Zetterlund's thing, right? He can shoot and score. I think that those two will be if they're put back together, I think you're going to see a nice bounce back from Fabian Zetterlund.
And it's funny, too, because I agree with Pilsy. Zetterlund has all the tools, but it felt like he just wasn't scoring. But it's partly the opportunity. He found himself on the fourth line quite a bit. So I went and looked it up, and this was the most goals per 60 minutes that Zetterlund scored in his entire career. It was at 1. Okay. But when you're averaging 10 minutes a game, it doesn't feel that much, because to get to 60 minutes, math guy, take you 6 games to do that, and a goal every 6 games. You felt like with the shot he's got, could bring a little bit more to the table. Now, you mentioned Eklund, great playmaker. Is there a natural fit then with Tim Stützle is the question that Senators fans are asking. And I just went back and looked natural stat trick 5-on-5. Looked like Alex Wenberg was his centerman for the majority of last season, which kind of gets us excited. It's like he's not getting those Celebrini cookies as often as maybe some other guys. But what type of centerman is Wenberg as we're trying to figure out what type of archetype player should be down the middle for an Eklund?
So Wenberg also kind of that playmaking center, but he was really asked to take a lot of the defensive responsibilities for the Sharks, right? To allow Celebrini to go do cool Celebrini things and get all the offensive zone starts. Wenberg was kind of the guy, and like Wenberg had one of the highest kind of defensive zone draws compared to, as well as facing tough competition on the team, and that they were faced against, usually the top, whenever the Sharks could, like kind of the other team's top center, the top lines as often as they could. But Wenberg and Eklund, they did a very good job of that kind of grind it out, get in on the forecheck, try to grind it out, try to, create some shots that way. And that was their offense compared to like the Celebrini line, which was much more get on your horse, let's go, let's get the rush going type of thing. So it was kind of a nice 1-2 combination of, okay, Celebrini goes out and does his thing. And then you have a line like the Eklund-Wenberg line, which could kind of slow things down and try to grind out the opposition a little bit more. So I think like having a center who can play in the dirty areas, get behind the net, they can kind of get the cycle going a little bit. I think that'll put Eklund in a really good position because of his vision, especially behind the net. Like Eklund behind the net, really good at kind of slipping those little passes out to the slot. So if you have a guy like Zetterlund who can kind of sneak in there, or a guy like Stützle who can also sneak into those areas and get some free opportunities there, I think that's where you're going to put Eklund in his best chance to succeed, and hopefully for the Sens get some more scoring opportunities.
So, Timmy, we know you're listening, buddy. Just shoot the puck this year.
Just shoot the puck. Eklund will find you. I promise you. Eklund will find you.
Yeah,
Yes.
That's awesome. Yeah, we're looking forward to seeing that potentially as a combination. I know we've tossed out the idea of Dylan Cousins playing right wing on that line. He was with Celebrini and Crosby at the World Championships playing right wing, and he's a shoot first guy. So to me, it feels like maybe you need a big body on that line, and you definitely need a shooter to be able to finish it off. But what kind of ceiling do you think William Eklund has? Because the points are there. Like he's able to produce at a respectable level for a top 6 winger. But do you think there's another level or two that he can reach?
I think especially when it comes to the goal production, right? He's a guy who hasn't even hit 20 goals a season. He had 17 the year before. This last year, he kind of had a little bit of a dip with the production. But you also think back to this time last year in the summer, World Championships, he get like a catastrophic wrist injury where like almost career threatening, to be honest, kind of talking to him after that, but wasn't able to spend a lot of the summer rehabbing that, right? You can kind of see like throughout the season, his shot was just off, like just not the power that you want, not the timing that you want. So now that he's fully healthy, can kind of continue to work on shoot. Like, I don't think Eklund's ever going to be like a 30 goal type of guy. That's just not his game. He's very much a kind of pass first type of player. But I do think they're just the natural, positive regression. Like I could see him being a 20 to 25 goal scorer, maybe like a high of like 27 in his career type of thing. So I do think the production the goal production could definitely take that next level. He's also very good defensively. And I kind of, from the Sharks perspective, I wish they'd used him on the PK more often. Like that was one of those things where I think you could have really kind of unlocked him another level defensively on the PK. But I think he's going to be a guy who kind of is like that really high end number 2, or maybe if he's on your first line, he's good, but he's one of those guys where maybe you're kind of hoping to see him take another level, but maybe just doesn't ever kind of quite reach that level. But I think though he can be a top 6 player. Like he's kind of that top 6 player that you need, who can do a little bit of everything, can is very, like I said, very good defensively, and is makes everybody on his line much, much better.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing him kill some penalties in Ottawa. It's because Tim Stützle is kind of the offensive threat penalty killer. So maybe get Eklund on that, the other unit, so you have one of those guys on each unit. Say, Ross?
Yeah, I don't mind that. I mean, Pinto can put up points shorthanded. You got a lot of options. Ridley Gregg kills penalties. Claude Giroux, like they have guys who have some offensive capabilities. Like Michael Amadio couldn't even get a shift on the PK last year. He's their best defensive forward until later on in the season. So that could be something to watch for here with Ottawa. Now, I want to get into the history between Ottawa and San Jose, because I do think there's going to be more Senators fans watching San Jose simply because Macklin Celebrini is unbelievable. Showtime every single night. We were lucky enough, Pilsy and I, 2 years in a row now, to be in Ottawa for those San Jose Ottawa games. And like, he just draws you in with the moves, the speed. He's not afraid to go in the corners either, and still as a teenager. Really impressive stuff. But for San Jose, it feels like, am I wrong to say that over those lean years, Zetterlund and Eklund were kind of two of the heartthrobs of the San Jose Sharks fandoms? It feels like anytime you open Twitter, there's like a new William Eklund edit. Oh my God, he's on vacation on the beach. We better post a picture of that. Like, it feels like maybe some San Jose Sharks fans will want to continue seeing what he's up to over the years.
Yeah, I think there'll always be a soft spot for William Eklund, and kind of seeing how his career continues here in Ottawa, because again, like, he was that first guy and was very much that first piece of this rebuild here. So again, like, all he wanted to do was win. All he wanted to do was just try to kind of help turn this thing around in San Jose. So I expect there'll be plenty of Sharks fans continuing to cheer on Eklund for 82 games of the season. So
there's 9 players who have played at least 100 games for both franchises. Like, doesn't that feel like a little high? Like, that the crossover is outrageous. Little trivia: how many do you think you could name off the top of your head? At least 100 games with both franchises. 1, 2. There's one guy who's been a guest before Locked On Senators, Pilsy.
Okay.
There's some you should be able to get right off the top of your head.
Carlson.
Yep.
Heatley.
Yep.
Bodker.
Mikkel Bodker played
Close.
91 games for Ottawa. Very close. Very close.
Spent too many games in the press box.
Yes.
Yeah, seriously.
Mike Hoffman.
Mike Hoffman did not get to 100 games.
100 with the Sharks, but
66 with the Sharks.
That's right. It was just the one season.
2 strikes, and then we'll start giving some hints. One of them, I don't even want to call him a cult hero, actually.
Rudy Balsers?
No, he didn't. If Pilsy was GM,
that's my guy. That's my guy, JD.
I love Rudy Balsers.
Yeah.
Rudy.
Yeah.
All right, give me some.
No, there's some legends in the mix here. You guys said Danny Heatley, I'd imagine.
Yep.
If not, easy one there.
McCulloch.
Sean Donovan is the one I was mentioning. Our first ever guest when we started doing a podcast. Milan McCulloch.
Okay.
Chris Tierney.
Tierney. Yes, I forgot about Chris
DeMello.
Dylan DeMello.
DeMello.
Boom.
Yep.
My neighbor. And Dylan Gambrell.
The Gambler. Yes.
There's one more lesser known, I think, for all the guys who've crossed over. Martin Havlat is also on that list as well.
Yes.
So like, there's some great players who have crossed over and played for both franchises, and Zach Ostapchuk likely to join that list after next season. What have Sharks fans thought? We talk a lot about the Eklund trade. What have Sharks fans thought about the Zetterlund trade now to year later? Like, Ostapchuk feels like he's getting an everyday role.
Yeah, I mean, there's still Sharks fans who are a little annoyed about kind of, because it's like, oh, you traded like a middle 6 guy for a guy who's like a 4th line player. But I think Ostapchuk really kind of really cemented himself. Like, he got a new contract this offseason, 4 years at like 2.5 or something like that. And really kind of cemented himself as a 4th line center for San Jose, right? His speed, his skill, his grittiness, like, you can definitely saw it on display. And I think he's a guy who's should continue as the Sharks hope to upgrade their 4th line. And, Ryan Reeves, who's very much a pleasant surprise, and, Barclay Goodrow, those guys start to kind of fall off the roster here, and you start to kind of get some other guys like Sharks and Sens legend Adam Gaudette, who was a really nice surprise for San Jose last year. You start to get a little bit more speed on that skill on that 4th line.
Would you call him a pure sniper?
Oh, dude, he's ridiculous. That's pure sniper. Yes,
definitely a pure sniper.
The pure sniper, 100%. But yeah, I think Ostapchuk's really kind of after tough start, kind of the same thing we saw when the Sharks traded for Fabian Zetterlund from the Devils. That last half of the season after the trade deadline, like he didn't do anything. Gets into the offseason and like a fresh start, and really came on for San Jose last year and looked like a nice piece in the bottom six for San Jose, at least for Ostapchuk. So
interesting.
Final question for me, JD and Ross. I can't believe we're 20 minutes in and you haven't answered this, asked this question, because most people in Ottawa, they call it the William Eklund trade, but Ross refers to it as the Kasper Halttunen trade.
Yes.
We did a live show of William Eklund, and 2 minutes in, Ross is like, we got to talk about Halttunen. I was like, let's maybe focus on Eklund a little bit longer. But Halttunen is an interesting guy, and obviously you cover the Barracuda closely, so you got to see a bunch of them. Like, this guy is a big player that has a heavy shot and scores goals. Like, yeah, pure sniper, definitely. What can you tell Sens fans about where Kasper Halttunen is in his development path and what you think his potential could be?
Yeah, so Halttunen is a guy who, like, I watched a lot, even in his London days, too, because one, I'd rather watch London than the Sharks that season after the Sharks drafted him. But and then two, like, London was also, very good, and they had I got to watch him and Sam Dickinson on the same team. But Halttunen, right, like, the shot is a scout, told me it was the best shot he's ever seen in juniors. Like, Halttunen's shot is absolutely lethal, and that is his bread and butter trademark type of thing. But I think with Halttunen, like, what you're seeing from him is he's still trying to kind of learn where he fits in the pro game, right? And being kind of, my guess for Halttunen is he's going to be that kind of third line power play specialist type of guy where 5-on-5, he maybe isn't as effective as you would like, but he's very good. Like, he uses his body pretty well, gets it on the forecheck. Like, he's afraid to throw the weight around, and you see him do that as well. And he's learning to trying, like, scoring goals in other ways, right? Crashing the net, using that size. Like, you saw him starting to do that a little bit more and more with the Barracuda this season. But like, his biggest weakness to me is his, like, first step in his skating. Like, you can tell it's slow and choppy, and he gets beat a lot, especially when, like, in those types of races. But once he gets going, like, he's got the ability to kind of move around and get around the ice. But I do think that first step of his is something that he really needs to work on going forward. But I know you guys talked to him as well. Like, super great kid. Like, he's very I talked to him about playing for London, and he's like, no, I loved it. I love being the bad guy. I loved going in and, like, having everyone just hate me automatically and kind of being able to shut them up. And you saw, especially with London, he was a big game player, like, in the playoffs. His production in the playoffs, like, he was producing pretty well. Then he gets to the playoffs and his game just goes out like 2 or 3 levels.
15 goals in 17 games. Insane.
Yes, like, he had a stretch in 3 games where he had 8 goals for London at one point, like 2 hat tricks, and then, like, he had a double the next game. Like, he has put up some, like, in those big time moments, he kind of has that little bit of that clutch gene where you need him to come up and step up with a big time moment. He has it, but I think if he can kind of continue to clean up his skating, I think he can be kind of that energy third line type of player. But you play him on the power play because of that shot, right? You set up in the OV spot and you just get him the puck, and he's going to be able to bury it. Like, that thing is, that one timer of his is absolutely wicked.
Unreal. Now, he had 16 goals, 35 points in his first season in the AHL. Did you see a market improvement from the first half to the second half of the season, or was it just kind of a streaky goal scorer as we see from time to time?
No, like I said, I think you saw more of the kind of off puck play that improve over the second half of the Barracuda, where you saw him again kind of utilizing his size and stuff and learning how to play with his size, and a guy who is not afraid, like I said, not afraid to kind of, use his size to his advantage. And like, that was even like the Sharks, kind of development staff talked about, like, he's a big kid, but like, he actually has to kind of make sure he takes care of his weight, because it's easy for him to kind of start to get a little bit on the heavier side. But he, really kind of working on his conditioning and working on kind of maintaining his weight at a positive, like where they want him to be. But yeah, I do think, especially the second half, he was making a lot more of that, like, positive off puck plays that you want to see, right? The stuff that keeps you from getting benched and keeps you like, where the coach will actually put you over the board. So yeah, I think like I said, I think probably another season in the AHL. I wouldn't be surprised, maybe if he gets a call up, gets a couple games here and there. I know you guys have a little bit more stacked rosters than San Jose does, but I wouldn't be surprised if he gets to at least get some games in NHL this season, and then maybe he's like a part-time player the year after that. So
yeah, we're looking forward to it. Ottawa kind of missed the boat on the 2023 draft in terms of, I think they had traded their first, second, and third round picks. And it was like, hey, it's good to get a guy in that age category who could potentially be a call-up in this upcoming season. JD, really appreciate the time. You're doing great work over there at Locked On Sharks, and hopefully get a little bump on those Eklund interviews, because I know a lot of Senators fans are curious to learn more about the Senators' newest top 6 player. So thanks so much for doing this. We'll do it again down the road.
I appreciate it, boys.
Welcome back. Locked On Senators, your team every day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Local experts on the biggest stories, 5 days a week, returning next Monday. This week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then we are back full-time on August 31st, because Senators prospects will report to camp the following week. There'll be the rookie tournament, followed by main camp and a very brief preseason with only 3 preseason game days. 2 of them, there'll be multiple games happening at the same time. So good luck watching both. We're going to have to divide and conquer. I'll watch one, Pillsy will watch one, and then we'll watch the replay of the other one to get all you the information that you need. But the organizational value rankings are here, and Pillsy, I love doing this. It's such a great way to set up for the season. We've got plenty of preseason topics, storylines, what to watch for. That's all going to be coming in the next few weeks, but we're going to take a nice chunk out of the OVRs. We've got number 70 all the way through 61 today. This is our long shot tier. Some late picks, as well as some guys who were drafted in 2022, 2023, and they're almost, now there's still guys who can make the NHL after that, but in terms of a prospect, you lose a bit of the shine when you're drafted 4 years ago, 3 years ago, and you haven't advanced to the American Hockey League. None of these guys are signed, let alone playing in the American League.
Yeah, so you hope that one of these guys can get some pro games for the Ottawa Senators or even Belleville Senators, but
at the end of this tier, I'll ask you which one, because it might not be in the exact order, because we each made our own lists, and you can go and become an everydayer. We posted those videos for the everydayers of us making the list. So this is our combined list that we've argued and come to a complete agreement as Locked On Senators. Let's begin the list with number 70. Vladimir Nikitin will be number 70. He's down 11 spots from 59 last year. Should note there's more players in the organization this year by 5 than last year. So I think everyone in this tier moved down just with the way the numbers worked. Ottawa added a lot of good pieces for Belleville and depth pieces in the NHL that push people down. Plus having a full draft with 2 first-round picks also helps that. But Vladimir Nikitin, he's still 6'5". He's 201 pounds, but he's going to play in Kazakhstan's pro league this year. And it's just, you're so far from the NHL at that point. Like, Sens Prospects on Twitter just said, like, his time as a Senators prospect's basically over. He only played 10 total games last year, Pillsy. 1 was in Tier 2 in the U.S., in the NAHL. Also played Tier 1 junior, like junior A basically, in the States. Only 2 games there. And like, the numbers weren't good. It was a really downturn from what seemed like a more promising trajectory when he put up great numbers in the BCHL the previous season.
Yeah, I mean, 2024-25, Ross, with the Nanaimo Clippers in 13 games, he was 11-2 with a 924 save percentage. Like, so that kind of made you think that he was going in the right direction. Then he even played World Juniors, albeit with Team Kazakhstan, and that didn't go great for him.
He was hung out to dry, though.
Goals against average of above 6 and an 0-5 record. But yeah, when you're barely able to hang on in the USHL and then you're barely hanging on in the NHL and then your stats are bad in the Kazakhstan league.
Because like Kazakhstan has a KHL team. Like,
yes,
if he was playing the KHL against higher competition, you can see a path from the KHL to the NHL. But at 21 years old, if you're playing in Kazakhstan, like you're not going to get the best shooters going against you. How are you going to improve enough that you could come over here and in Belleville be able to put up numbers? So, I mean, it was a dart throw in the first place. He was a 7th round pick a few years ago. Like, it's not like you're losing a lot of draft capital, but Vladimir Nikitin would have to put up an outstanding season this year, I believe, to even be considered for a contract. So it's a long shot for sure.
Yeah, it's too bad. Guest of the show. It was fun to chat with him. He scored a goal in the BCHL, but yeah, this is the appropriate spot, and he takes the new honor from someone that had it previous years in a row as the last player on our OVR ranking.
And like to move up next year, like it's going to be hard again because the level of competition is so low. So I'm just going to be looking for him to put up outstanding numbers and then find a new team. Like, hey, he found 2 different teams after he started the year in the USHL last year. So maybe he doesn't finish the year in Kazakhstan, but you're not going to go. There's no pipeline from Kazakhstan to pro hockey. So or pro hockey in North America. Let me be clear. So Vladimir Nikitin comes in at number 70. He was 59. He was 51 the year before, 54 after he was drafted in 2023. Moving on to number 69, it is Nicholas Van Tassel, another late round pick in 2023. He's 6'4", 201 pounds, 22 years old, going into another college season. He's moving from the University of Massachusetts to the University of New Hampshire. To me, that's a downgrade. UMass, always competitive. New Hampshire, they're still wishing that Tim Stützle went there. Yep. Didn't happen. Sorry, Crooker. But New Hampshire is not a team that really gives you like, oh man, like one more year there, then he'll turn pro. Van Tassel's 22 years old and he had 2 goals in 26 games last year. He's a big boy though. Like he can skate for sure. But to me, he's the type of guy that's going to sign a one-way ECHL contract after this year or find a home in Europe and then build from that. So he's still young. He's 22 years old, but it's going to be a very long shot for him to become a member of the Senators organization.
And shout out Nicholas Van Tassel, not the last player on our OVR this year. So, hey, there's some improvement there.
Yes, there is. What would you like to see from Van Tassel this season?
I mean, look, considerable bump in his numbers, at least. Like his first year at UMass in 23-24, he had 2 points in 24 games. And then in 37 games the next year, he only had 4 points. And then he pops off with 12 in 26 games. So, honestly, just finish out your college career. Try to be a leader on that team. Get double-digit points. That's kind of it.
And we'll see what that happens for Van Tassel at the University of New Hampshire. His UMass teammate comes in at number 68, Cameron O'Neill, 22 years old as well, but he was drafted in 2022. He's 6 feet tall, 198 pounds, right shot, right winger, put up godly numbers in high school in the States before being drafted. I remember talking to him about that. Yeah. Hockey was fun for sure. He was 57th when he got drafted, 53, 61, 64, and now at 68. Just kind of aging out of that prospect here. He did have 5 goals and 14 points in 31 college games last year, a decent season, +7 with 8 penalty minutes, but it just felt like it was always going to be a longer road for him as kind of an undersized guy who was always, it was so easy for him at lower levels. He was an unbelievable minor hockey player. And it's just run out of time with Ottawa, but I could see him playing AHL games down the road. I just don't know if it will be with Belleville.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, he basically had a similar trajectory as Van Tassel. They even played together for a couple years at UMass because his first season there, 7 points, then 3 points, and then this year he pops off for 14. So he's going to be wearing an A in his 4th and final year at University of Massachusetts. And similar story, just be a leader, double-digit points again, and hope you land in a good spot after this.
Yeah, the former 5th-round pick from 2022. All right, coming in at number 67. This one, a little disappointing for sure. Philip Nordberg will be number 67. He's 6'5", 212 pounds. He's a mutant. We've seen him in person. He is a big dude, and those are hard to play against, but unfortunately, the puck skills just doesn't feel like it's come along well enough to be considered higher on this list. He was a 2nd-round pick. Now, albeit at the end of the 2nd round, the last pick of the 2nd round back in 2022, and he's progressively moved down. There's a big drop after 2023. He went 35, 38, 56, 61, and now 67. He had no goals in 38 games last year with Merrimack. That's a college hockey team. They play in a lesser conference, but they did make the tournament. They lost in the first game. He had 7 assists this year, +3 with 64 penalty minutes. The discipline's going to have to get a little bit better for him. He's going to have to show a bit more with the puck, be able to move it to the forwards a little bit more. But defensively, like he's decent defensively. You watch some highlights, like he's boxing out in front of the net. He's doing some of the right things, but just not enough right now. Now, it'll be interesting, though, Pillsy, because he is transferring and he'll be playing with the Arizona State Sun Devils this year.
Yeah, I think, you hope that that's a good spot for him. But I just, at this point in his development, Ross, I don't know if there's really anything that he can do or change that would be drastic enough to have him warrant moving up on our list and really kind of fulfilling that 2nd-round pick value.
And if you look at just how many left shot defensemen there are in Ottawa's system, you just can't put him ahead of anybody right now. And I think that's where it really gets tough for him. If he had gone back to Sweden after last year, they would have lost his rights. But with the deal right now, because he's staying in NCAA, he remains the rights of the Ottawa Senators. So Philip Nordberg comes in at number 67 on our organizational value rankings, which brings us to number 66, goaltender Andrei Trofimov. Now he's 20 years old, long road to go, especially as a goalie, but he moved down from 60 last year after being drafted to 66 this year. Just the numbers, not great. Can't say we watch a lot of MHL hockey, but he had 886 in a league where goalies typically have really good numbers. Now he's 6-3-1 record, so that's good, but only got into 13 games. He's still a long shot for sure, but this is a guy I'm actually intrigued in. I think he could easily have a much better season this year and get himself on track and up this ranking for next year. I'd like to see him play a game or two in the KHL. If he could get that, that would be fantastic. But I'd like to see him at least win the starter's job in the MHL.
Yeah, or get a couple of games in the VHL,
Sure.
Ross. He did get one there the previous season. I don't think he started that game. But the previous season, he had an amazing year in 26 games, 210 goals against, 929 save percentage, 3 shutouts, 13-7-2 record. And then this year, really drops off that. I mean, he played half the games and his goals against goes to 278, save percentage plummets down to 886. Still gets 1 shutout, but this is a guy that, as for any Russian prospects, but particularly Russian goalies, he's in the long shot category. Just check in on his stats once in a while, and you hope that in 3 to 5 years there's something going on there.
One thing that we look at for this type of prospect is what do you do against your peers? Now, he played the 3rd most games of any goalie in that with this MHL team. The guys who played more, 27 games for this one guy, he had a 918 save percentage, and another guy played 20 and had a 915. So he played 13 out of 886. So you compare it because they're all playing behind the same team, the same quality defense. So we'd like to see a little bit more from Andrei Trofimov, but he could easily move up this list next year. There's still a long way to go. And because he's drafted to Russia, the Sens hold his rights for longer. So I think that there is some upside here, but he is definitely still in the long shot category. Andrei Trofimov is at 66. He's 6'2" as well, which, as Lucas Beckman told us on our interview a little while ago, that's tall in real life, but not tall for a goaltender. This is tall for a goaltender. Elliot Lennon comes in at 65. He was just drafted this year out of U.S. high school. Now, he's a Canadian kid from Quebec, but he's 6'6", 201 pounds. I'm very intrigued to see where he plays next year, because he finished the year playing a few games in the USHL, but the Quebec Rempart hold his rights in the CHL, and they posted about him this summer as a prospect. So I don't know if he's made a decision yet. I mean, TikTok, I feel like camps have even opened now in the queue. So we'll be very curious to follow him, because he's starting at 65. But this is a guy with a good seat. Like, his numbers were ridiculous, but you're playing against guys who are going home to work on their biology work to try to get into college, not guys who are already in and have hopes of playing in the NHL. So, hey, unreal stats, 936 save percentage in 26 games last year. But we just need to see him against higher competition. I think that's where we're at right now with Elliot Lennon.
Yeah, and he did get 2 games with the Madison Capitals, and it was basically one really bad game, and then his next one was really good. The first game allowed 5 goals on 20 shots, and then the second game, 2 goals on 32 shots, and he got the win in overtime. So you get a little taste there, but I think either landing spot would be good. The key when you're a young goalie, more than where you are and your situation, is, are you playing games? And I think he needs to decide, where does he think he'll get an opportunity to play more games, and that should be what he bases his choice on.
Smart kid, though. He's committed to Brown University, an Ivy League school, for the 2027-28 season. So it's just, what are you going to do in this in-between season for you before you go to college? Again, so young, so tall, athletic. I like the potential here, but we just need to see more before moving him up the organizational value rankings. So Elliot Lennon is at 65. Coming in at 64, Alexander Grunin out of Russia, Novosibirsk. This guy's in Siberia right now, playing in the MHL, which is the Russian Junior League. He's 6'4", 185 pounds, left shot defenseman. Pilsy, there could be a player here. Like, a lot of the scouts who follow that league were very curious, intrigued even, who would take a gamble on Alexander Grunin. This was the type of pick where you typically see the Carolina Hurricanes make the pick, and everyone goes, ooh, ah. Well, Ottawa jumped in the 6th round, 183rd overall, to take the defenseman who just turned 18 the day or two after the draft in late June. And he put up some decent offensive numbers last year, 15 points, 6 goals in 44 games. Going to be really fascinating to see what's next for Grunin.
Yeah, I like this pick here, because you're getting a guy with size and some good value potential. Like you talked about, scouts were pretty complimentary of his game. And yeah, 15 points, 44 games. Let's hope that he gets into some more games next year in the MHL and continues to play well defensively, because a plus 23, that's pretty solid.
And with Grunin, too, I think one of my favorite parts about him is that it feels like he's a bit of a riverboat gambler out there. Like, in the clips, there's some all shifts videos that you can watch from him. And, like, he's going to be a fun player to follow. And that's what, like, Sens prospects got to queue up the MHL tape this year.
Yep.
But what would you like to see from him more? Like, I mean, the numbers are unreal. Like, I guess a look in the KHL.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like if he got to the KHL, he would just be stapled to the bench. But I mean,
yeah, true. This is a long-term project.
Yeah,
long-term project.
Long-term.
Which I think is why he's in this category. Because
exactly.
I said after the draft, this might be my son from the draft. I do think that he does have some serious upside potential. But again, like we said, this range, it's guys who are just drafted. They're so young. We need to see and learn more about them before just handing them the keys. Can't be handed the keys this high in the organizational value rankings before you show it multiple years. And then guys who are kind of on the later end of their prospect journey. Coming in at number 63, another 2026 draft pick, is Harris Pangretich, defenseman, right shot, out of the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds. He's a Toronto kid, 14 points in 67 games last year. He's plus 20 with 53 penalty minutes. Pilsy, I battled you. I thought that Grunin should be a little bit higher, but easy tiebreaker is who got drafted first. They're in the same draft. So who did Ottawa have higher on their list? And that's Pangretich.
Well, I got you on a couple tiebreakers. First, the draft capital. Second, he's bigger, same height, but he's got almost 30 pounds, or no, more than 30 pounds on him, and right shot defenseman. So there's and then another one already playing in North America.
Yeah.
I think Pangretich is a guy that I'm going to be keeping tabs on because I think that was a great value pick in 67 games. He had 14 points, a plus 20. He got to play 10 games in the playoffs. Now, it didn't go Sue's way, and he finished at -4, only 1 assist there. But I think this is a guy that scouts really liked as well. Like EP's first sentence about them in their guide was a formidable defender. He turns creative attacks into clean stops. So I think he's going to be someone that can be a good, not just a physical shutdown guy, but can also have some puck skills as well. Like, is he ever going to be an offensive power play specialist? No, but he's going to have that size, and he's not going to be a liability with the puck.
Really curious to see how the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds look this year and what type of impact Pangretich can have, because he was kind of sheltered behind Chase Reed last year. And now Chase Reed's going to college. Yep. So is that going to give him more opportunity to show off his offense and get a little more power play time? Only time will tell for Harris Pangretich. But he makes his debut on our organizational value rankings at number 63. Coming in at number 62, it's a guy who's been in the organization now for a couple of years, Eric Wallenius. He's an enormous human being, 6'4", 236 pounds. He's a left shot defenseman. He was not in the NCAA. We'll fix that up on the old graphic here. He was in the QMJHL. I got the team right. And Moncton actually had a great year. They lost in the QMJHL finals, and Wallenius it just feels like he's a playoff type player. You know what I mean? When you have that size and he's got some physicality to him as well. I really like the prospect, but I mean, this is going to be kind of a make it or break it year in a sense for him though, right? Like, he's going back and playing pro in Finland. So how's that going to impact things? Be very curious to see. And he's not only just going back to Finland, he's going back to the organization that he grew up playing in. So I think that maybe that familiarity will be good. And there is precedent for this. Levi Meriläinen basically did the same thing. Came over, played a year in the CHL, went back and played in Finland, and then came over and played in the American Hockey League. But another left shot defenseman on this list, Billsy.
Or another example is Lassie Thompson, right? Lassie went back to play in the SHL and then kind of surprised people. The Ottawa Senators kept his rights, and he came back and played in Belleville and even got some NHL games. So, you know, him going back it's not like he's kind of waving the white flag and it's like, I'm done with my North American career. I want to focus things here. You want to try to build on that. But our guy at Sens Prospects said he lined up as the 4th pair in the Liga preseason game. So
I was worried about that.
He's still kind of on the outside looking in there, so we'll see how that goes for him. But yeah, you mentioned his playoff success. Like, he had 12 points in 56 regular season games, and then he had 10 in 21 playoff games. So hopefully something he can build on, but certainly a long shot here. And I don't really see a path similar to Nordberg, where there's just so many big left shot defensemen available that I don't see a path where he's able to leapfrog other guys here.
He was just at Sens development camp. And what I like too is he had 73 PIMs in the regular season, only 8 in the playoffs. So he was able to say, hey, like, I got to clean it up here. Our team needs me on the ice. He could be a potential penalty killer, play killer down the road. 56 last year, so he's down 6 spots. He was 60th after making his debut on the list following his draft at 136 overall in 2024. Coming in at number 61, the final player on the long shot tier here, it's Theo Wahlberg. He's been in the organization now for a number of years, since 2022, but it feels like he loves college. Like, I thought he was going to come out of college after he had that really nice year with the Ohio State Buckeyes.
Yeah, 21 points in 38 games, which for a big defenseman, that's very impressive in your first year in the NCAA. And then dipped off the next year, only 8 assists in 27 games, no goals. And then switching to Western Michigan, decent season, 14 and 37 games. But yeah, I would have thought that he would have used that big season in the NCAA his first time to try to springboard into a different role, but maybe he thought things are going well here. I can build on this even more at Ohio State, but didn't exactly go his way.
No, I mean, 6'5", 216, and Western Michigan's always a competitive team. Like, they've got a really good squad there, and we'll see what happens next for him. But like, his puck skills are very good. He's a very smooth skater, and I mean, his numbers in college are really good. I wonder if he's the kind of guy that after his college career will say, I'm happy playing in Europe, happy playing in the SHL, and maybe he goes that route. But I do think there is some potential upside. I mean, he's huge too, right? 6'5", 216. Like he's a guy who is he's got pro habits. Let's put it that way. And I mean, how much college experience does this guy have too? When you look at it, and I should mention he's 22 years old. I still have him at 20. Him and Wahlberg there, I had the same. So he's 22. And I just think that when you've played that much hockey in the SH or in the college, 102 college games, by the way, like I wonder if he's going to go to Sweden, but we'll see. He's a guy that's very curious to know what's going to happen with him. He scored a goal in their loss to Denver. They lost 6-2 in the final game of the season. And he was like a top-ish pair guy. Like he was always averaging about 20 minutes a game for them. And this will probably be his last year on the organizational value rankings. He's down 7 spots from 54 all the way to 61. All right, Pillsy, that is our long shot tier on Locked On Senators value rankings. Which one of those players do you have the highest hopes for?
For me, it's Harris Pangretich. Big size, right shot, good rookie season in the Sioux. I'm excited to follow along with him, and I could see a path where he could be playing in Belleville, or even if things go well for him, third pair, 7th D guy in the NHL in years to come.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Grunin and Elliot Lennon, like the new guys. And you did that with Pangretich too. It's like we said, like the other guys, they're all a bit older. It's like, what's going to happen next? But with those guys, they still have so much more runway to be able to show their stuff. So I think that makes sense that we're going with guys who are younger on this list. But that is 61 through 70 on Wednesday's show. We will get to our next tier, which is going to be the prospects tier. It's a much larger tier, and these don't count prospects who are in Belleville already. And there might be some prospects that we have in a different tier coming up, but this is a group of 19 or 17, at least 10 prospects that we have as guys who I think have more than a long shot. More. There's a better chance of them playing than the long shots do. So stay tuned for that on Wednesday. We'll also have an interview for you on Wednesday. Thank you to JD Young for joining us. Pillsy, any final thoughts on today's show?
No, this the only final thought is I'll remind everyone this is our final week of 3 shows, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then we're back to the daily grind. We're going to have episodes for you every single day, Monday through Friday.
All right, stay tuned for that. For Brandon Piller, I'm Ross Levitan. This has been another edition of the Locked On Senators podcast, your team every day.